Welcome to Medicaid Mastery, a cut above explaining the real long-term care Medicaid system.
Hello and welcome back to Medicaid Mastery with Tony Turbeville. Tony is the founder of Platinum Benefit Services, where he and his team have helped more than 16,000 families secure Medicaid benefits while protecting their assets and peace of mind. My name is Kevin Rosenquist, and today we're talking about the most common and costly mistakes families make when applying for Medicaid. And Tony's going to talk about how you can avoid them. Tony, welcome back.
Thank you for having me. Good to see you.
Yeah, you too, man. You too. So you've been doing this a while now. What would you say is the number one mistake families make when they try to apply for Medicaid on their own?
Oh, wow. That's a tough one. For a while, it's 29 years now. I'm kind of getting a little long in the tooth in this business. But, I would say that the biggest mistake that people make is listening to their neighbors and their friends and their regular estate planning or family law attorney that doesn't really understand Medicaid, and then just moving money around, not knowing what they're doing and applying and not finding out for 3 or 4 months that they've been denied, and now they owe the nursing home 30 or 40,000 bucks.
Oh my.
Yeah, any one little thing, one form not submitted on time or correctly, moving money the wrong way, um, you know, having reimbursed a kid for something which may be legitimate but not proving that. And by the time they end up with the denial, they're pretty deep in debt. And sometimes that can be backed up and fixed, but most of the time it's kind of too late. You can fix it going forward, but you can't fix it going back. And while I have a dog in the hunt, as we say down here in the South, um, cut out the in the South part
Okay.
altogether and just say what the problem that people have is that the cost of a quality service or quality attorney, like Platinum, not that I'm an attorney, but I'm an application service, is much, much less than the cost of the mistake. So it's not really what does it cost to get the service, it's how much is it going to cost me if it gets messed up along the way, because the odds are very substantial that you're going to make a mistake if you don't do this all the time. You can think of it like, can I do my own plumbing? Well, sure, you can, but by the time you're done, it might have been cheaper to hire the plumber to begin with, right? So it's sort of the same concept. Even people who don't have excess assets or excess income get messed up in this system, particularly in Florida. Florida is just covered up in Medicaid applications for long-term care. There's too many applications, not enough workers. You have to fight your way through the system, even when you qualify without doing anything extra, right? They deny them wrong. They get them lost in the process. It's just really a mess in Florida. And I'm not done in Florida. It's my home state. I love Florida, but their Medicaid system is just a mess, and people just can't get through it on their own. Long-winded answer, but there you go.
No, that really kind of sets the stage, quite honestly, for what we're here to talk about. And you mentioned kind of briefly about moving money around. A lot of families think that giving away money or assets will help them qualify, and I think sometimes it does, but they can also get in some trouble, right?
Sure. So, under the federal rules, which Florida adopted in 2007, under the Deficit Reduction Act of 2005, Florida implemented it in 2007. They changed the look back period from 36 months to 60 months. So, if you give something away, you're going to create a penalty period if you've given it within 60 months of filing the Medicaid application. So, basically, when you file the application, they're going to look back 60 months in time and say, did you give anything away? If you did, they are then going to calculate a penalty period, and they're going to apply that penalty period going forward from the time you otherwise would qualify for Medicaid had it not been for the gift. So, in other words, if you apply this month and you have a 10-month penalty period and you would have qualified this month had you not given it away, then they'll say, okay, we'll start your benefits 11 months from now because you got a 10-month penalty or whatever the penalty works out
Right.
based on the gift. And by the way they get to that penalty is they take the amount that you gifted, and this is in 2025, and they divide it by $10,403, if I'm not mistaken. So if you give away 100 grand, you got a 9 point something month ineligibility period, right?
Wow.
Give away 200 grand, you're about 19 months now. So you can really create a mess. Now, for those who might say, well, I already gave money away, there's no hope for me. Not true. There are a number of ways to fix it, but they all involve returning the gift. So
Ah,
Florida Medicaid says if you give away a gift and it creates a penalty period, will allow you to unwind it by returning the actual gift or something of equal value. Okay. And they'll also honor a partial return. No reason to do that, but just some states don't allow it. Florida does. So you may not have the money. Maybe mom gave you $100,000 and you needed it for, I don't know, paying off student debt or buying a house or whatever. You don't have the 100,000 to give back. But if done correctly and the note is written correctly, you can just give a promissory note back to mom. That fixes the gift. Then we can do something to get rid of the promissory note. So the first thing is to fix the penalty. The second thing is to protect the asset you fix the penalty with. Does
mm-hmm.
that make sense?
Mm-hmm. It does. Yeah. Yeah. No, that does. And people don't realize that there are actual legal exceptions that you can use to protect your assets, correct?
Absolutely, there
Yeah.
are. And there's even exceptions to the gifting. For example, if you have an adult child that is on Social Security disability, you can give $1 billion to them and it won't interfere with your Medicaid qualification. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you got to be careful if they're on SSI, which is a little different than SSD. You can't do that because they're means tested and you're going to mess up their health benefits and their SSI and that kind of stuff. You can also give away a house to a child that's lived in it for 2 years or longer and delayed your entrance. You can give it to a sibling who's lived in the house and has an ownership interest, which can just be paying the taxes or fixing the air conditioner or putting a roof on or whatever. But in addition to the exceptions for gifting, the way Medicaid is set up is they look at two categories of assets. They look at countable and non countable. Pretty much what they sound like. Countable is in the calculation for determining eligibility, and non countable isn't. So the whole trick, the secret sauce, so to speak, of Medicaid crisis planning is taking the assets that fall under the countable category and exchanging them for something in the non-countable category. And then you got 100,000 that was countable, you exchange it for something non-countable. Medicaid pretends that 100,000 isn't there for calculating eligibility, and voila, you qualify. Now, sounds simple, a lot of little intricacies to it, but
Mm-hmm.
it's that simple, just not that easy.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and so let's talk about the actual application process. Okay, so is there any value in applying early before you technically need it, or do you really need to wait until it's something that you need?
Yeah, you have to wait until you need it or very close to needing it, because if you get a Medicaid approval and you are not yet, well, let me back up. That's a little bit of a lengthy answer because there's so many technicalities.
Okay.
So if it's home health care or assisted living or nursing home makes a difference. So for example, if you're doing home health care or assisted living in Florida, you have to go on a wait list and you have to get selected off of that wait list. And if you get approved for Medicaid before you're selected off that wait list, they're just going to kick it out, right? Because you didn't come off the list and them say, okay, if you get qualified financially, then we'll provide benefits because you never made it off the list. In a nursing home scenario, if you said, oh, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be going to the nursing home in the next few months, and you go ahead and apply, they're going to say that you're not properly placed, right? So you're still at home. You're saying, I'm going to go to the nursing home. Let me get my ducks in the row and get approved for the nursing home care ahead of time. That's not going to work because you're not in the nursing home.
Okay.
So in crisis planning, you got to be doing it at the time you need the care.
That seems like I'm kind of a planner by nature, so I would definitely want to be like, all right, I know this is coming down the road, so I may as well get the application in now. But yeah, so it doesn't work like that, huh?
No, the only time that it works to do it in advance is what's called pre-planning, when you, by design, give all your assets away more than 5 years ahead, which nobody knows when they're going to need it, right? So it's
Right.
guesswork. And
Yeah.
most families just don't want to lose control of all of their assets. I mean, they worked their whole life, they're now in their 70s. Um, it's going to be hard to get them to turn over all their assets to their kids, or, to some irrevocable trust that they don't control.
hmm Do you help clients fill out the paperwork and get the application dialed in?
Absolutely. We not only fill out the paperwork, we don't help, we do it for them. We also write all the companies and collect the information on assets, on income, pensions, all that kind of stuff, because you have to verify those at the source. Medicaid won't take the deposit into the bank account. That's not proof of income. They want to know the gross income, and you have to get it from the source in a way that they can tell that it was completed at the source. So if you have a pension from General Motors, you got to have something from the General Motors pension department saying this is your income for 2025. 2024 won't work, right? Social Security, you can't use last year's and say, well, they did a 3% increase. Medicaid won't accept that. So you got to verify everything. We do all that for the client. Now, sometimes we need the client's assistance. We get a financial institution that won't cooperate with us, but for the most part, we do it. We do all the administrative functions. We fight with Medicaid. We go through the hearing if there is a hearing. Hopefully not. Most of the time there isn't. But if so, we do that at no additional charge. We are a full service Medicaid application processing firm. We take care of it beginning to end.
It sounds like a very complicated process. Is it why is it so complicated?
Um,
Besides the fact that it's government run.
well, that's certainly one of them. I think kind of like Social Security, when Social Security started out, getting Social Security disability benefits wasn't that difficult. But as more and more people applied, it became more and more challenging financially for the government to fund it. So they
Right.
started automatically denying the first application in almost all cases. And then they deny the second one in most cases. And then the third one is generally when you get through. If you don't get through the third one, then you got to go to the hearing. And I think they've intentionally made it difficult. But in addition to that, most of the clients that we help, not all, but most, have excess assets that keep them from qualifying. So basically, you're saying the government didn't really intend for you to qualify for benefits, but we're going to rearrange your assets in such a way that it meets their rules. So having to do that rearrangement creates complications.
hmm hmm you mentioned before that you can fix mistakes a lot of times. Not every time, but you can fix mistakes. Can you share an example of a time when someone came to you after making a mistake and you were able to help them turn things around? I'm sure that's happened a lot. So maybe the most common thing you see that people
All
do
right.
wrong that you help them with.
Yeah, so I would say the most common one I see, because the home is often the largest asset a Medicaid applicant has, the kids, they transfer it to themselves and then they apply for Medicaid. And Medicaid rejects it because now they've given a gift within the last 5 years.
hmm
Well, they didn't need to transfer the home to begin with because the home's a protected asset in the state of Florida, which is where I do most of my work. We do other states, but primarily Florida. So all we have to do is deed it back, right? We return the gift. So now we don't have the problem. The house is already protected. It just didn't need to be done to begin with. I also see where they give, they transfer the CD into the kid's bank account for $100,000 and we have to unwind that. Um, uh, Not giving them the paperwork that they ask for in a timely manner. Medicaid can get an application in, ask you for information. If you don't give it within 10 days, you violated the time frames and they'll kick the application out. They'll deny it for not timely providing information. Now, you can get additional time if you know how to do it, but you got to ask for it.
hmm hmm Yeah.
So that's like three of the most common things I see.
Yeah. No, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, it makes sense why people would do that wrong. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of people that like the DIY approach. I mean, my dad is that way with his
Sure.
with it's still, his own taxes and all sorts of different things. Like, it's just like he's always done everything himself. But for anyone listening who has that sort of mindset about Medicaid, Medicare, and trying to get any of this stuff done on their own, what kind of advice would you give to people as far as the DIY process instead of getting professional help?
So 10 years ago, I used to tell people, you don't need me. Do this, and then go apply for Medicaid. But it has gotten progressively more difficult. And I can't, in good faith, tell anybody that anymore. It's just that complicated. So I would say go to our website, which is www.platben.com. Sorry, www.platben.com. Read the testimonials. You will see a repetitive theme in there. We would have never gotten through this on our own. So glad we hired you, worth every dime, couldn't have done it without you. And when you read that every now and then, it's one thing, but when you read it about every third or fourth testimonial, I think it says a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You need help through this system, particularly if you have excess assets or excess income.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense to me. All right. Well, this has been Medicaid Mastery with Tony Turbeville for expert guidance that helps you avoid the costly mistakes we talked about today and to help you get approved the first time. Visit platben.com. Again, that's PLATBEN, like Platinum Benefits. And if today's episode helped you, be sure to leave a review, subscribe to the show so you don't miss the next episode, and share it with anybody who you think might get some use out of it. Tony, it's always great chatting with you. Thanks so much for your time.
Likewise. Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.